Welcome back to 32 Bar Cut Broadway Banter. I am Adrienne Walker.
I'm Austin Cook.
And today we're going to talk about the casting process from a music director's perspective.
Yeah, I'm going to answer your questions, Adrienne's questions, about how these shows get cast.
All right, so today I've got a few questions I'm going to ask Austin, and hopefully they're questions that you have too, but if you have additional questions, just drop them down below and we will answer them for you in the comment section. Okay, so let's just start right into it. Casting call goes out for the new show. How do you choose who's coming in?
Well, I don't choose who comes in. What do you mean?
Well, how do you begin the process of casting for the show? Do you immediately go to auditions? Do you already have a list of actors you're interested in?
Yeah. So you're talking about for like a new show or something.
Yeah.
So brand new Broadway show coming out. All there is a new script and we need actors for it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. Here's a little secret, a little insider knowledge. Usually what producers do, it starts from the top with producers, and then it also goes to the writers and the director, and then there's a music director obviously under that. But what we do is we try to cast a dream cast. That's usually what most shows are going to do first, no matter what level. If you're on Broadway or off Broadway, all the way down to your local theater, they might have a dream cast, what they call like an ideal cast, right? So what I would do is I'd say, okay, for this particular role, I want Jeremy Jordan, and for this role, I want Sutton Foster, and for this role, I want Denzel Washington, and for this role, I want, I just thought of Kerry Washington, same last name. Anyway, I assemble this group of, and I'm talking A-listers, I'm the best. This is what these types are. And then if I say, okay, so this type is, it's very like, let's say, what's like a comedic, like Issa Rae. So say this particular role to me is kind of like an Issa Rae role, like if she were to do musical theater. And then I put that together, and now I've assembled the whole show of this dream cast. Now, will this ever happen? No. And it's not about that, but it's more about type, right? We talk about type when we talk about different, for auditioning for things. What is your type? Well, as producers, we're kind of thinking about the roles in terms of type as well, who these people are. So if I say, okay, at the top of my dream role list is Issa Rae, then now I say to my casting director, and we hire a casting team, their job is to find Issa Rae types. And maybe that includes Issa Rae. So maybe it's a Broadway production of some show, of an August Wilson show that has this woman that's Issa Rae's type, then maybe they go directly to Issa Rae and say, hey, you want to be on a Broadway show? And that happens. Or, more likely, they go to a list of actors who kind of give off that vibe or have her type, whatever that is. So then the casting director says, next stage is, here is a list of names that are already working, that are probably like, say, B list. So if Issa Rae is an A, then we go to the B list and we say, well, here's this group of actors that kind of like, they give off a similar vibe to her. And we say, then we have that list in order. And then you have a C list from there, and maybe a D. And because it gets cheaper, for producers, it's like, the farther down the list you go, the less experienced the actors, the less celebrity they have, the cheaper it is for a producer, right, to bring them on board. And then that goes down to, eventually, you'll have open calls or whatever. You'll break down the type for what that is, and you'll have open calls, and maybe you'll discover somebody that is that type, and then we cast from there.
Those breakdowns, I have a question about that. So does the casting director write the breakdowns? Does the director do them? Does it change depending on the production?
It changes depending on the production. A good producer will put it in the hands of the creatives. So they'll ask the writer first and foremost to do it. If it's a show that's already been done, or if the writer is on it more like hands off, then ultimately the casting may do it themselves, which usually you'll find little issues. You'll be like, why is this this doesn't seem right to what I'm reading? Sometimes it's because the actual writers didn't write it. Somebody else did. It could be an intern at the casting company, for instance.
And let's answer this just in case you're like, what is a breakdown? Can you tell us what is a breakdown?
Well, a breakdown is just for the actor auditioning, right? It says normally a little bit, a blurb, a few important adjectives about the role they're auditioning for. So it might say youthful, energetic, feisty presence that's like a descriptor about type. And then if it's a relevant physical type, they'll put a relevant physical type there. Like if it has to be a black actor, a white actor, an Asian American actor, or
Tall
any
actor, or
right. But sometimes race will be there if it's important to the script. But tall is also important sometimes. You know, curly hair. Who knows? Whatever.
They could say something like graceful. You know.
Yeah.
All kinds
so
of
you'll
adjectives.
find a little descriptor, and then also there's an age, normally an age range. It'll say 30s, or it'll say, you know.
But don't let that throw you. Don't let the age part throw you, because sometimes that changes, especially for TV and film. They may have originally wanted someone that was a certain age range, and that's actually gone away, and they don't care about that now, and they called you in, and you're not that age range, and you can't get that stuck out of your head.
That's true. And it's also not literal. It's about the feeling. You know, it's about
How you read.
You may be 30 years old but look 15, and you could go in for something younger. And some people look older, some people, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not about what your age is literally. It's about what your type is.
Now, for the music portion, I'm pretty sure that falls on the music supervisor or the music director as far as like the audition cuts, what you want people to sing. Is that true, or does casting choose that as well?
Yeah. So the music director, they'll ask me, you know, what I want to hear, and I'll either tell them that's where you see like the pop rock song of your choice. I can do something that simple, or I could be a little more detailed, which I tend to be a little bit more specific about what I want them to bring in. And if there's sides involved, like sing a cut, I'll prepare the sides and then give that to casting, and you'll see that please prepare a song, this side included in whatever your breakdown is.
Okay. How, as a fresh new actor coming into this show, we don't know the show. All we have is this audition cut, or maybe our own contemporary musical theater song that we brought in. How do we make our audition stand out?
Oh man, how to make an audition stand out?
I ask that because that question gets asked a lot on our channel, and I don't even know if it's possible. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, be yourself. I mean, the best advice you can give is to be yourself. You know, don't try to be something you're not. Be your type. Be fully who you are. Show us who you are, and don't try to aim for something that you know. I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong. If we don't see like who you are as an actor, what you bring to the table, then you know, those are usually the auditions that just don't leave a mark. So
that makes sense, because if you're pretending and you're not being fully authentic yourself, then you're losing the opportunity to be unique, because we all are innately unique because we're all different. Is that kind of what you're
it's
saying?
definitely. I mean, acting nowadays, it's just a little bit different than I'd say the old days. The old days was about, you know, becoming a fully like fleshed out character and being a completely different person. Nowadays, of course, acting is always going to you want to do that, but you also want to bring an authenticity to yourself, and you want to access a more authentic version of yourself. And in an audition room, you usually don't have time to do all the deep method acting work to dive in to fully become. You kind of want to at least bring the spark of who you are first. So at least we can see that, and then we can go from there. We can fine tune to what the actual role is. So I would say the other side of that answer would be to prepare in order to stand out in audition. I mean, if you're fully prepared, that you know you have a mastery of the audition room, you're going to stand out in a crowded field because you've done the work.
I like that. That's really helpful. My next question is, so this is the scenario. I've gotten my audition call, and I've gotten to the part of the process where I've been able to read the script. I can see the other roles. Maybe I hear chatter. Maybe other people are talking about other roles they went in for. And I think I'm better for a different role than the one I got called in for. What do I do in that scenario?
Well, if you're already at the audition, right? So you want to audition for what you're there for, obviously. But then if you have an agent, you want to tell your agent, hey, I think I'm better suited for this other role. And then your agent can find out what's happening with that role, and then they can pitch you for that role. That happens a lot.
Yeah. Because sometimes they already have in mind a person for that role, or there might be something in the breakdown. There might be something that's not in the breakdown that really describes why you're not right for that role. And so don't cast yourself. Sometimes we're just wrong. Sometimes we're wrong.
That's right. But if you really strongly feel that you're right for a particular role, you can just reach out to casting. But don't do it in the room. Like, don't do it
Don't
that
do
day. But you can always email casting if you don't have an agent, or if you have an agent, go through your agent and be like, I really would love you to pitch me for this other role, and then the agent can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next question. So, do you keep actors in mind if they don't book the initial call? Like the
Of
initial
course.
call? Yeah.
Yeah. We keep a list. We're very organized. And casting certainly is. I mean, that's what they do. They keep a list of all auditions. Now, the biggest example I can give you is the biggest musical on the planet, Hamilton. Hamilton auditions so many people, but they have a really organized way of knowing. Say somebody's too young, right? I've seen that happen before. Somebody's really great. They really like their energy. They're a little green and they don't have the experience that, say, a seasoned tour. You just kind of need experience sometimes because they need somebody who can sing 8 times a week, this really high stuff, and they're just a little concerned that you're just too young, that you don't have enough experience. They put you in the file and you may not know it, but in 6 months they'll call you and audition you again. Because they really liked what you did in that audition. But all you know from your end, you just know that you got to know. But it may be a maybe in our pile. And that happens a lot. And also, you never know how casting shakes out. Because like I was referring to earlier, there's a list, this hierarchy of Issa Rae, and then under that is this actor and this actor and this actor. Issa Rae all of a sudden is not available. We go to this actor's not available. They took another project. They're filming a movie in Nova Scotia. They can't do the production, so we're going to this actor. You never know how these things get changed around, and then all of a sudden you may have been a no a day ago, but today you're a yes. You're at top of the list. That's just, don't take that personally. That's just the nature of the business. So you never know. You never know how these things can change on a dime. Yeah.
All right. So this next question is kind of just about the process of a new show happening, or like I know that they do like 29-hour readings and then they do workshops and then maybe they do an out-of-town production of it or a regional production or something at Paper Mill in New Jersey. And then it comes to Broadway. So can you kind of walk us through that and what that looks like and maybe the time frame of that? Because you've done that a few times now.
Oh, yeah. These musicals, the big ones, take a long time to develop. It's years and years and years. Because it's such a big financial investment, they really try to develop it in a way that, makes financial sense. So by the time it gets to Broadway, you see the Broadway production, it's already been kind of developed and really fine-tuned in a way that feel like, okay, it's not going to be a flop.
So what's a 29-hour reading?
Yeah, so you start with a 29-hour reading. That's an equity term for the amount of hours that that an actor can be used in a certain amount of time, usually a week, for the purpose of developing a new show. So you have 29 hours divided over 5-6 days, and you will work on the piece. So that's a 29-hour reading, and we'll cast for that. And
it's usually been my experience with those is that there's no staging. You're really just learning the music very fast and hard and getting familiar with the script. And then there's a presentation. Sometimes the presentation is really small. Sometimes there's mics and a little bit more music involved. Music meaning instrumentation involved. And usually always producers are invited to that final presentation. It's developmental. It doesn't mean that you are going to be cast the next time they do anything with this piece. You're just being used for that time, and they're grateful for it. You will be compensated for it. It won't be a lot of money, but you'll get a chance to create and be on the early stages of creation. And then the next step up from that is a developmental workshop or a 2-week workshop. The workshops for equity come in different tiers. So we'll just say workshop and just know that it could be a different tier. It could be 2 weeks, it could be 3 weeks, it could be a month, it could be 5 weeks. And those can either be also kind of like the 29-hour reading where you sit down or you stand up and do the production. And some of them are full out. You are learning choreography, you're learning blocking. They expect you to be kind of memorized, It can run the gamut.
Yeah, and then you got a lab from there, which is similar. A lab can be a few weeks. And there, usually labs, the purpose is movement. They kind of want to develop what it's going to look like, how the movement palette works, what the choreography's role is in the storytelling. They want to directors kind of want to get a sense, an idea of what they're going to be doing with the piece, and producers also want to see like what's going to happen, because again, it's from a producer's. This is commercial theater, so it's about protecting the producer's investment. So they want to see at all points of this. You have producers, you'll meet them, and they're there because they want to make sure that they're happy with their investment, their product.
Yeah.
So a lab is all about kind of more the physical, and of course you always do all the music. You usually have drums if it's a groove show, any type of groove show, there'll be drums. Even musical theater though has drums, and a pianist, and then sometimes you can have more of a band depending on the show and what the producers are looking for. Because always at the end of that you'll have presentations, which are for the producers, but they're also for money people. So executive producers and other people that they're looking to like, hey, invest money in this so it can get produced.
And I would say from an actor's perspective in doing anything like this, it's fast, it's hard. And you need to be fully committed and focused because things are changing. The script you got on day one may not be the script you do at the final presentation. You might get whole pages ripped out and added in at any point in the process, and you just have to be ready for that. So it is a fast and dirty and can be a pretty tricky process, but it's very rewarding because if you're doing a developmental lab, then you're closer to maybe just potentially moving right into the production. What did you say?
Yeah, most of the time, your lead roles, especially principals, like if you're looking for lead roles, they're going to come directly from these labs. You know, sometimes the minor ensemble roles are the most that move. Like you might go to Broadway and then get different ensembles and different minor characters. But the principals in general of these labs they want to kind of stay-ish. You know, sometimes it just depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation, but my biggest advice for those is to take them seriously and don't do double duty. A lot of people do double duty. With double duty, what I mean by that is you've got a permanent gig. So you already have a show, you already have a job, you have something going on, and then you're trying to do also this lab or reading. Why would you do that? Because of the money. The labs don't pay very much. You can't really pay your bills doing labs. The problem with this is you get tired, you're fatigued, you can't put all of your energy into the lab because it's all day rehearsals every
10 to
day,
6.
and then at night you're doing a show. You end up doing yourself a disfavor because the producers end up they can feel that you're not fully there, that that you're tired, that whatever. They don't care. They just know again that their $1 million investment, that all they care about is the show. They don't have feelings towards what's going on in your personal life or what your work is. They're just like, why aren't you
reliable?
Why can't I only care about my show, which makes sense. They're putting a lot of money in it. And you just don't do double duty if you can.
I have to agree with Austin on that. I've done double duty several times, and it's never been a good look. I usually strain my voice. I go through vocal fatigue. I'm tired, and then everything is mediocre instead of one thing being great or fantastic. And I just would suggest don't do that to yourself if you can help it. If you can take time off from your regular gig to pursue this workshop, great. If you can't do both, just stick with your gig. Okay, moving back to the casting part.
Right.
Does talent outweigh personality?
Talent outweigh personality. Oh man, I guess it all kind of matters. It's just so complicated, these things. There's a lot that goes into casting. You know, something even like maybe talent doesn't matter at all. Like sometimes it's, you see it sometimes. It used to be in the old Broadway, they'd bring in Nene from Housewives.
She did Cinderella,
yeah,
right?
They brought in Nene. Now, did they
Nene
bring
Leakes.
that because she was more talented than the other women that had been doing the role? Of course not. They're bringing her in for celebrity. That's it. They need to sell tickets. Don't forget, it's commercial theater. Tickets, money is king. That's how it works. It's like it or not. That's Broadway. That's commercial theater. West End. So you have to remember that it's not about talent. It's not about you being better than somebody. It's not about any of that. It's about what's best for the show. That could be that this person brings in, they are a huge celebrity. We're casting them because we need butts in the seats. Okay. Other times, maybe we are looking for someone who just has this amazing vocal talent. Sometimes I do that as a music director, right? And I do a gospel show. I need someone who really understands what Fred Hammond gospel is, and he can do that. Now, maybe they're not a great actor, but maybe the role doesn't, you don't really have to act that much. You just have to sing your face off. So that might take priority. Other times, you'll see with directors that really care about acting and deep storytelling, maybe you'll see that director fight with the music director and say, I don't care that they can't sing. I have to connect with this story. I have to connect with this actor in this scene. They can't sing. That's why you go to shows sometimes, some of you, and you're like, they're not good. Like, they can't sing. And you're like, what is going on there? Well, maybe that's because of their type and the acting they really connected with. And they felt like they believed that this person was in love with this person just because of their essence and who they are. And they can't sing. And your opinion is they can't sing. But they're not maybe the best singer you ever heard. And that's why. Because they're willing to make those kind of sacrifices for the good of the whole of the production.
What I'm hearing is that it's just really nuanced.
It's nuance. You just never know who's going to get, that's why you just have to do your best at these auditions.
And be yourself.
Be yourself and let it go.
Because Austin was playing auditions once, and this very eccentric, not typical musical theater type came in and blew everyone away just because they were themselves. And they made it work. They were looking for a way to put this person into the show because they loved them so much, even though they didn't really have a part written for their type.
Yeah, that happens all the time. And now, especially nowadays, like, it didn't used to be like that, but now if you have, I don't even know how to describe it. If you have a feature, something remarkable about you, whatever it is, that is an asset. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's some feature on your face, if it's if you're only 3 feet tall, if you're 10 feet tall, whatever your thing is, I promise you, it's an asset. It's amazing. Love it. Embrace it. Go into these auditions. Don't type yourself, well, I don't look like this typical type that
Doesn't matter.
I don't whatever. I'm not polished. It doesn't matter. Like casting directors, if you have a unique feature, whatever it is, casting directors are going to be drawn to it.
Yeah, and it could be something as simple as your voice is just not a typical musical theater voice. Your voice is unique and interesting.
Interesting
Bring
voices.
that. People love interesting voices.
Absolutely.
Interesting quirks,
Yeah.
Okay, so this last question doesn't really feel like a last question, but it's something that a lot of people have commented on several of our videos, so I just want to clear the air and try to get some clarity to this. But the question is, should I move during my audition?
Well, again, complicated question, but ish. I mean, it depends. If it's so, say you're in a quick setting. It's the first round, open call. You're only there to sing 16 bars or 32 bars of music, and that's it. Don't move. It's about standing and planting and doing your song, acting it, but staying still in the confidence that exudes with that kind of stage presence.
When you say staying still, for my literal folks out there, what does that mean? Does it just mean don't move your feet, don't move around the room, or do you mean don't like at what level of acting are you saying? Because I had a question that was like, do I wave my arms? And I think you shouldn't do anything unless it's character driven.
Yeah, it's character driven. I mean, that's why it's hard to answer, but it has to be natural.
It has to be natural.
It has to feel organic. You can't, whatever you do, don't plan when you're gonna, plan. We used to say in opera, hold the grapefruit. Don't do that nonsense.
Or this.
Don't do that stuff. It's about being natural, but also nervous energy is bad. So, like in Acting 101, in your first year, freshman year of acting courses, you may do exercise of just learning to stand and plant, keeping your arms at your side and just do monologues, keeping your arms still, keeping your feet still, not shifting your weight, not, just planting and being confident in what you're saying. That's kind of the basics. So that's why I say start there. If the audition is just a song, just plant yourself and learn to sing and act in just your eyes and in what you're doing. Now, does that mean you can't move? Of course not. Like, you can definitely move in your auditions, and you should. You should use the room. When you see our videos and our advice, or you take one of our courses on auditioning, One of the courses is talking about moving in the audition, being able to use the room, being physically present in the room. If there's a piano in the room, it exists in the room. If there's a person, a human being, they exist. I use them. So don't pretend that stuff isn't there when it's there. You know, this cup is here. I'm using this cup. It's a real thing.
Yeah. I would take ownership of the room. It is your audition. It's your space. I've walked in and there's been chairs in the room and I had planned to sit. I'm going to go grab that chair and I'm going to sit. And if anything, I'll add it into the top of the audition. As I'm bringing the chair over, I'm starting my lines. Or today I had an audition where my character was sick. I used the piano. It was an upright piano. I leaned on it. You know, it's okay to just use the space and be comfortable with it.
That's right. So should you move during an audition? Yes and no. I mean, it depends, but
it needs to
make
be natural.
sure it comes from it's natural and it feels like it's from the character and it's purposeful. Don't just pace in the room or just walk around needlessly.
Yeah.
That's all that gets interpreted by casting as nervous energy and unprofessional. You don't want that. I would err on the side of standing and planting and delivering it that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't map it out like at this point I'm going to do this, because it will never feel authentic and genuine. It won't feel in the moment. We aren't like that as human beings. So don't make your scene and your audition that way either.
That's right.
Well, that was my last question. I'm sure that we didn't cover everything that you're curious about. So please write your questions down below. If we get a ton of questions, we'll just make another video and answer them all. But if we get a few questions here and there, Austin is going to comment down below.
And please remember, for those of you who need it, we have a course for you to take on not only your audition book, but a full audition course where we talk about all of these things. We talk about casting, finding your auditions, getting your book right, how to move in the room, how to interact in the room, and how to prepare confidently. So we have that for you.
It's all laid out.
32barcut.com/academy. Check it out. And we're here to help. So drop us some questions.
Share this with your friends. If you have some folks in your life that love theater and don't know how to get into it and have a ton of questions, bring them over to 32 Barcut.
That's right. All right. Until the next time, happy auditioning and get out there and break a leg.